Brady, he got what's the top, ladies and gentlemen. He's hit the front, he's hit the straight. Here we go. 70, 60, 40, 30, 20, 10, out.
Australian sprint sensation. Gout Gout has sent shockwaves through the athletics world by delivering a stunning rebuke to comparisons with legendary Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt. The 17-year-old phenom, who has been consistently breaking records and making headlines, has finally spoken out about the constant parallels drawn between him and the greatest sprinter of all time, and his response has left the track and field community stunned. Gout said in a candid 7 News Spotlight interview with renowned sports commentator Bruce McAvaney, "In the moment it feels great because everyone wants to be compared to Usain Bolt, the fastest athlete alive. At times, it does get a bit overwhelming, but now that I've grown up, I'm a bit mature, and my circle really helps me stay level, and I'm just trying to make a name for myself." Then came the statement that has everyone talking. "Although I do run like Usain Bolt, and I do maybe look like him, I'm just trying to be myself and trying to be the next Gout." With these powerful words, the teenage sprinter has made it clear that while the comparisons to Bolt initially felt flattering, they've quickly grown stale. The Australian superstar is now focused on carving his own unique legacy in the sport rather than living in anyone else's shadow.
Yeah, indeed.
How did that feel?
I mean, obviously, in the moment, it feels great because everyone wants to be compared to Usain Bolt, the fastest athlete alive. And at times, it does get a bit overwhelming. But now that I've grown up and I'm a bit mature, my circle really helps me stay level. And I'm just basically trying to make a name for myself. Although I do run like Usain Bolt, I do maybe look like him in a couple of ways. I just trying to be myself and just try.
What makes this declaration particularly significant is that it comes on the heels of Gout's extraordinary performances at the Queensland Athletics Championships in Brisbane. There, the teenager clocked an incredible 19.98 seconds in the 200-meter final, becoming the first Australian to break the 20-second barrier, though the time wasn't entered into the record books due to wind assistance exceeding the legal limit. In the heats, he posted a wind-legal 20.05, once again threatening Peter Norman's 56-year-old national record of 20.06, which Gout had already broken in December with a time of 20.04.
Away now, 3 heats. Under 20 boys, 100 metres. 10:35 on the clock there for Gout Gout. He'll be through to the final later on, you'll see.
These remarkable achievements have naturally invited comparisons to Bolt, who revolutionized sprinting during his dominant career. But Gout's rejection of these parallels represents a bold statement of independence from an athlete who appears wise beyond his years. Rather than embracing the mantle of the next Bolt, he wants to establish himself as the first Gout Gout, a superstar in his own right. Australian Olympic great John Stephenson believes the teenager's impact extends far beyond his individual achievements. He is fun to watch. It is at the point where it's just fun and exciting and the world is on notice. And really, Australia haven't had a legit sprinter since Matt Shervington, Patrick Johnson, and Peter Walsh, and they haven't done what this kid is doing, Stephenson told news.com.au after Gout broke the 20-second mark. Gout Gout has done this at just 16, 17, and even if nothing happens from here, what Gout Gout has done has set up Australians sprinting for the future, Stephenson continued. We should be in debt for the work he has done because he's given us some belief that we can compete again with the best in the world. The international athletics community has certainly taken notice. According to Stephenson, when I speak internationally, everyone is curious about him, and even more importantly, every young boy and girl in this country that has seen what he is doing now has that seed of belief that they can do it, and it is priceless for our sport. This growing global attention makes Gout's decision to distance himself from the Bolt comparisons even more significant. Many young athletes might be tempted to lean into such prestigious parallels, but Gout's determination to forge his own identity speaks volumes about his character and confidence. With the Brisbane Olympics coming in 2032, Australian fans are already dreaming of what could be a historic moment on home soil. He is doing all the right things, so without a doubt, the world is his oyster. And we, as the Australian public, should give him time, enjoy what we are seeing, celebrate that he is an Australian, and that we have Brisbane Olympics in our backyard, and come, then potentially he is lining up and we are cheering him home in another Kathy Freeman moment, Stephenson predicted.
Cody Jordan as his nearest challenger, starting to roll, just too late. It is the double for Biyanda Walaza.
The reference to Freeman's iconic 400-meter gold medal at the 2000 Sydney Olympics highlights just how significant Gout's potential has become in the Australian sporting consciousness. Already, at just 17, he's being mentioned alongside one of the nation's greatest Olympic moments, with expectations that he could deliver something similarly special in Brisbane. For now, though, Gout's focus remains on his immediate future. Fans won't have to wait long to see him in action again, as he's set to compete at the Maury Plant Meet in Melbourne on March 29th. This prestigious event will provide another opportunity for the teenager to showcase his extraordinary talent, and perhaps break even more records along the way. What makes Gout's rejection of the Bolt comparisons particularly noteworthy is that there are legitimate parallels between the two. Both are tall, graceful sprinters with exceptional closing speed. Both burst onto the scene as teenagers, setting age group records and competing against much older athletes. And both have charismatic personalities that transcend their sport. But Gout clearly understands something profound, that true greatness doesn't come from being the next version of someone else. It comes from authenticity, from embracing your unique strengths and building your own legacy. By pushing back against the Bolt comparisons, he's not diminishing the Jamaican legend's achievements, but rather asserting his own place in the sport's hierarchy. As the athletics world continues to watch Gout's development with bated breath, his stance serves as a reminder that in sports, as in life, the most compelling stories aren't about following in someone else's footsteps. They're about blazing your own trail. The teenager who was initially overwhelmed by comparisons to the greatest sprinter of all time has found his voice and his purpose. He's not the next Usain Bolt. He's the first Gout Gout. And that might just prove to be even more extraordinary. What do you think about Gout Gout's rejection of the Usain Bolt comparisons? Is he right to distance himself from these parallels at such a young age, and with his times already approaching world-class levels? Just how fast might he be running by the time the Brisbane Olympics arrive in 2032? The answers to these questions will unfold in the coming years, but one thing is certain. Gout Gout is determined to write his own story, on his own terms, and the athletics world will be watching every step of the way.
Lee Gout, Atkinson, Cully, Brady, Peacock, what's the clock, ladies and gentlemen? He's hit the front, he's hit the straight. Here we go. 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20.
The sprint world is buzzing with excitement as 17-year-old Australian phenom Gout Gout has just accomplished something that has sent shockwaves through track and field, becoming the first Australian athlete in history to break the 20-second barrier in the 200 meters. At the 128th Queensland Athletics Championships in Brisbane, Gout clocked an astonishing 19.98 seconds. A performance that has legends of the sport breaking down what this means for the future of sprinting. While the time won't count as an official record due to wind assistance of plus 3.6 meters per second, the significance of this achievement cannot be overstated. As track and field legend Rodney Green explained on the March 19th episode of Ready, Set, Go,
he is the first Australian to sub 20 seconds in all conditions. I was happy for him. He wished that it was wind legal, but the wind didn't permit for it. It was just a little bit over the allowable, but he is the first Australian with sub 20 seconds in all conditions, which is good. I watched him, and the competition is not even, no disrespect to this competition because they are youth athletes like him, but he beat those kids by 2 seconds, bro.
What makes Gout's performance even more jaw-dropping is the margin by which he dominated his competition. The young sprinter didn't just win, he obliterated the field, finishing a full 2 seconds ahead of his closest competitor. In sprint terms, this isn't just winning, it's competing in an entirely different race altogether. Four-time world champion Justin Gatlin was left stunned by the visual evidence of Gout's dominance, remarking, "They weren't even in the screen. When the TV was panning and you was watching him pull away from the field, he just was in the screen by himself. The Queensland Championships showcased Gout's versatility and sustained excellence across multiple events. First, he captured the 100-meter title with a time of 10.38 seconds. Then, in the 200-meter heats, he posted a world-leading mark of 20.05 seconds with a wind reading of plus 1.2 meters per second, making it the fastest 200-meter run by any athlete in 2025 as of March 19th. But it was his wind-assisted 19.98 in the final that has the track world truly buzzing. This performance comes just months after Gout broke Usain Bolt's world age 16 best in the 200 meters. In 2024, at the Australian All-Schools Championships in Brisbane, he clocked 20.04 seconds to surpass Bolt's 20.13, which had stood since 2003. For context, these records from Bolt's teenage years were once considered virtually untouchable, as Rayanch Dubey aptly described them. Bolt's records used to be like those carved in stone and thrown into the bottom of the ocean. You just knew they were there, and catching them up was something next to impossible. But wait, there is more. The comparisons to Bolt are inevitable, but what's truly remarkable is how quickly Gout is closing the gap to the Jamaican legend's senior records. Bolt's world record in the 200 meters stands at 19.19 seconds, set at the 2009 World Championships in Berlin. While Gout's 19.98 came with significant wind assistance, the fact that he's already flirting with sub-20 performances at just 17 years old suggests a trajectory that could eventually challenge even Bolt's most hallowed marks. Gatlin, who had competed against Bolt throughout much of his career, raised important questions about what would come next for the young Australian star. Do you put him on a more international schedule to where he can race other athletes of his caliber and he will be in that season to be able to race them? Or do you just kind of let him be the king of his own domain? This concern highlights a genuine development dilemma. Gout has clearly outgrown his domestic competition, winning by margins that don't push him to his absolute limits. The 40-year-old sprint legend suggested a balanced approach. I think he's going to kind of take the Quincy route. He's going to run some of his age group and then some meet where he could jump into a pro race. This strategy would allow Gout to continue dominating age-appropriate competitions while occasionally testing himself against world-class professional sprinters. What we witnessed at the Queensland Championships was both a coronation and a warning shot to the international sprint community.
For our sport to really have a governing body to really go through ranks, I think he's going to kind of take the Quincy route. He's going to run some of his age group, and then some meets where he could jump into a pro race, he will.
The coronation came as Gout officially became the first Australian to break the 20-second barrier in any conditions. The warning shot is aimed at the established sprint hierarchy. Gout Gout is already running times that would be competitive at major international championships. The excitement surrounding Gout extends beyond just his times. Track enthusiasts are witnessing the emergence of potentially the next great sprint star. When a teenager is already posting world-leading times before their 18th birthday, the natural question becomes, what might they accomplish when they reach their physical prime in their mid-20s? For reference, Bolt didn't set his first world record until age 21, and his most dominant performances came between the ages of 22 and 26. With the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics on the horizon, Gout is positioning himself as one of the most anticipated attractions of those games. By then, he'll be 20 years old and potentially entering his prime years as a sprinter. The article concludes, so keep your ears and eyes wide open. Gout Gout continues to improve. At this rate, we might see him in LA 2028. What's particularly impressive about Gout's development is his consistency across different competitions. Breaking the 20-second barrier didn't come as a one-off fluke. It followed his world-leading 20.05 in the heats and came months after his 20.04 that broke Bolt's age 16 record. This pattern of improvement suggests a meticulously planned development curve that could eventually place him among the all-time greats. The wind-assisted nature of his sub-20 performance adds an interesting layer to the achievement. While it won't count for record purposes, it provides valuable psychological data. Gout now knows what it feels like to see 19 at the start of his time. That mental barrier has been broken, potentially making it easier to reproduce under legal conditions in the future. For Australian athletes, this moment represents a paradigm shift. The nation has produced excellent sprinters before, but never one who has broken the 20-second barrier at any age, let alone as a teenager. Gout's emergence gives Australia legitimate hope for sprint medals at major championships, a category traditionally dominated by athletes from the United States, Jamaica, and increasingly, African nations. Is Gout Gout the next Usain Bolt or forging his path? While the comparisons are natural, he has the chance to build a unique legacy. Bolt's impact went beyond speed. His charisma reshaped sprinting. As Gout's journey begins, the world watches to see not just his times, but the athlete he becomes. What would be the best development path for this 17-year-old phenom, focusing on age group dominance or testing himself against professional competition? The debate continues, but one thing is certain. The sprint world has found its next potential superstar, and his name is Gout Gout. What do you think about Gout Gout's incredible performance at the Queensland Championships? Is he on track to challenge Bolt's senior world records in the coming years? Share your thoughts in comment section.
Lee Gout, Atkinson, Cully, Brady, Peacock, what's the clock, ladies and gentlemen? He's hit the front, he's hit the straight. Here we go. 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 20.
Gout Gout just delivered the performance everyone has been waiting for, breaking the magical 20-second barrier in the 200 meters with a stunning 19.98 seconds at the Queensland State Championships on Sunday. The 17-year-old Australian sprint sensation has done what no other Australian in history has accomplished, becoming the first from his country to dip under the 20-second mark, though the wind-assisted run won't count as an official record. This breakthrough comes a day after his dominant U-2100-meter victory, solidifying Gout as Australia's top sprint talent and a rising global force in athletics. I felt literally free. I had 80 meters left to go, and I thought, let's send it, Gout said after his historic final. Only from then did I believe I had a chance of going sub-20. Seeing the clock, I was really happy and surprised in a way, but it just felt like a weight off my shoulders. Now that I've done it, I've just got to do that more consistently. Gout's path to Sunday's breakthrough began with an already remarkable heat performance earlier in the day, where he clocked 20.05. The fastest 200-meter time in the world this year. That alone was headline-worthy, but the teenage phenom was just getting started.
I didn't expect it to be that fast, but I guess her end showed the fastest ever time in the 200. I've been chasing that record, but I didn't think it would come this year. I thought it would come maybe next year or the year after that.
Though the 19.98 won't be an official record due to excessive wind, Gout has shattered the psychological barrier, proving he can run sub-20. This places him among elite junior sprinters and makes an official sub-20 feel inevitable. His achievement is historic. No Australian man has legally broken 20 seconds. Peter Norman's 20th of June, set in 1968, stood for 56 years until Gout's 20th of April in December 2024. Norman's time earned Olympic silver behind Tommy Smith, underscoring the world-class standard Gout now challenges. Gout's meteoric rise has stunned the sprinting world. Just 3 months ago, at 16, he ran 20.04 at the Australian All-Schools Championships, surpassing Norman's record and even Usain Bolt's time at the same age. Paired with his 10.17 in the 100 meters, he has emerged as a generational talent poised to rewrite history. But wait, there is more. This weekend's championships in Brisbane have only strengthened that reputation. On Saturday, Gout dominated the U-2100-meter final, running 10.38 seconds in rain-soaked conditions with a slight headwind. What made that victory impressive wasn't just the time, but the manner, finishing a staggering 0.43 seconds ahead of his nearest competitor, Michael Alafokai, a margin rarely seen at this level of competition. It's one of the top 10 times of my career, so I couldn't be happier, Gout said after Saturday's 100-meter victory, demonstrating both his high standards and remarkable maturity. The 10th 38 clocking ranked as the 5th fastest time of his young career. a mark most sprinters would consider exceptional in perfect conditions, let alone on a wet track. Gout's achievements are even more impressive given that his strength lies in finishing speed rather than starts, an area he's still refining. Analysis shows he covered the second 100 meters of a 200-meter race in 9.34 seconds, fastest closing speed ever by a junior and among the top 10 all-time at any level. Gout's extraordinary closing speed has drawn inevitable comparisons to Usain Bolt. Like the Jamaican legend, he often trails early before unleashing a blistering finish that leaves competitors behind. The comparisons are obvious, not just the times, but the technique and how he storms from the back like a hurricane, noted Australian media. "I just learned to be myself and follow my processes," Gout explained, showing wisdom beyond his years. "You can do all the work in the world, but if you're in good mental shape, you'll be right." This psychological maturity is particularly impressive given the extraordinary pressure and expectations he faces as a teenage prodigy.
Cody Jordan as his nearest challenger, starting to roll, just too late. It is the double for Bayanda Walaza.
Despite still being in high school, Gout has already signed a multi-million-dollar sponsorship deal with Adidas that runs through the 2032 Brisbane Olympics. The contract, reportedly worth over $6 million, represents a significant investment in his future, though many experts believe the value could prove to be a bargain given his trajectory. The timing of Gout's rise couldn't be better for Australian athletics. With the 2032 Olympics set to be held in Brisbane, Gout's home state, the teenager's development timeline aligns perfectly with what should be the peak of his career. By then, Gout will be 24 years old, typically considered the prime age for male sprinters. Australian Olympic legend Cathy Freeman has been watching Gout's development with interest and sees something special in the teenager. "He is just something else," Freeman told 7 News Spotlight. "Watching him race, it's like he's been shot out of a cannon or something. He's quite extraordinary. He's probably smarter than I was at that age. He's quicker, but he's certainly got the world at his feet." World Athletics President Sebastian Coe has also taken notice, recently describing Gout as a rare talent who needs nurturing and protecting. This recognition from the sport's global leadership highlights the potential impact Gout could have on track and field in the coming years. The next major test for Gout will come at the Maury Plant Meet in Melbourne on March 29th, which will be broadcast live on Australian television. That competition will give Gout another opportunity to chase an official sub-20 time, this time with a larger audience watching. Gout has already surpassed the 20.16 qualifying mark for this year's World Championships in Tokyo, positioning him to face the world's best.